Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead. And this is online. We were racing dune buggies in Cabo San Lucas, my two sons and I. No helmet, no straps, no nothing. Just 65, 70 miles an hour, and I'm in the lead. I come around the last corner, and I hit a rock. There was only about this much showed over the sand. I hit a rock going about 70, and I didn't see it, and I flipped in the air, supposedly 20, 30 feet. I came down, and I'm trying to think, what the fuck's going on? But I could see that the vehicle, the dune buggy, was going to land on me. So I tried to do some James Bond shit, but it didn't work, and it landed on me. And so I'm there on the ground, and no medical shit, none of that. This is Cabo San Lucas in Mexico. So I'm going in and out of consciousness, and my sons get there. My oldest son and I said, whatever you do, Danny, don't let me pass out. You know how when you see people shot and they say, stay awake, stay awake, stay awake? Well, there's a reason for that. So I started to go out and bam, he hits me, slaps me. And my other son, Derek, says, are you fucking crazy? Hitting Dad? I mean, he's going to come back from the grave and kill us. Which I might have if I could come back from the grave. So some nice Texas man dragged me off the thing from Dallas, an oil and gas guy. I didn't know him. And they take me to what they call a hospital, emergency hospital. And all the things you hear about third, fourth world countries, medicine is all true. And I happen to have $700 cash in my pocket. $700. Now, my collarbone was down here, and it was poking out 4 or 5 inches, and blood spurting out. So I'm sitting in the reception. 2 doctors, I don't know if they were doctors really, 2 people come out and look at me. We think you have a fractured collarbone. We think. I mean, it's like this. Okay, what are we going to do about it? So they put it together best they can, and but what they didn't know, they had an X-ray machine that you X-ray horses with. What we didn't know at the time was I had a cracked sternum. I broke 7 or 8 ribs. I punctured my lung. I even punctured a portion, the fatty portion of my heart. I punctured my liver and all kinds. I was fucked up and I was bleeding to death internally. So they patched me up and they put me in a Mexican cab. And the bill. What was the bill? $700. Coincidentally, $700. So my son takes the money out of my pocket and gives it to him. So then when they send us in a cab back to our hotel, I didn't have any money to pay the cab. And all that charity shit you see on TV, that's all bullshit. That doesn't happen. He stays there until he gets $50. He doesn't let him help me out of the car until he gets $50, kind of like India. And finally, the manager of the hotel, and I'm really feeling, and I'm all drugged up, and so about 3 or 4 in the morning, I got pissed, and so I call my sons, and they come, and they carry me to the bathroom in solid blood. And I said, I remembered American Express had come out with a commercial. When in trouble, no matter where you are, you call the American Express hotline. So I went to the manager who spoke a little English, and so we finally got through the American Express hotline in Chicago. And a kid named Garcia answers it. How can I help you? And I'm trying to stumble out. And so then the manager says, we have a American here that's pretty fucked up, and we need. Okay. Within about 2 hours, we had a doctor there who spoke English. And the doctor said, you got to get to somewhere where it's civilized. Anyway, it took me several hours to rent a plane, and then I got back to the United States. And the first time that they fixed it wrong. So they had to re-break my shoulder on the ship. And so the American Express. And so I went back years later to tell American Express this, and I talked to some millennial or some X generation fuck moron. Nah, I don't think, I'll do it for free. Nah, I don't think, I hope you're watching this, American Express. Nah, I don't think so. Now, I don't know if they have a hotline anymore, I don't know. But I know that kid Garcia, if you contact me, kid, if you're around, I'd be a dead motherfucker. And I've got 25 stories like that. You can't fucking kill me. You can't. And but standing on one leg, and I thought these guys probably don't worry about that. Everybody in this room cannot stand on their one leg and brush their teeth. I can guarantee that, though. Try it. One leg. Some of you can't stand on one leg for 20 seconds. And you wonder why I look like I do. Okay. Implicit in what we've talked about all week that you want to ignore is you're going to have to sacrifice something. There's a pay price to action for everything in life. The easiest thing to relate to is for people that weigh too much. What are you going to give up? And or what are you going to do in addition? In other words, burn calories. What kind of food are you going to put in your system? That's easy. I've talked about disassociating yourself with toxic people. You just kind of shine that on. Down deep inside, you know who I'm talking about. In your families, normally, your significant other. I showed you an email that I went through it quickly on the second day. A guy married 25 years, raised up 3 or 4 kids to adulthood, and had a certain amount of net worth. But he realized it was his wife for 25 years it was toxic. It was hard. It was hard decisions. Like the thing I talked about 2 days ago, the guy that came here found out that his son was stealing from him, and he threw him in jail, and his wife left him. Those are hard but they're real life. But you want to ignore them. Everybody in this room has one of those. Some people in this room have several of those. We talked about Manchester. Everybody. If nothing else, other than this week-long experience, if you will, is you're going to either consciously or subconsciously address these issues. But each one that you store back in the back corner, dark corner, and don't address, is another reason why you wasted your money coming here. Other than if you just stop the personal development bullshit and just say, I'm just going to chill out the rest of my life, have a good time, fuck around, not make too much money. That's cool. And we've had people like that too. But there's a pay price to action. What are you willing to give up? What are you willing to sacrifice? Most people don't want to sacrifice anything. If you don't sacrifice anything in the toxicity, the toxic environment you currently exist in, this is going to have little or no use to you. We used to do an exercise. We don't do it anymore. Sign a paper tonight. You're going to commit to this, that, and you're going to do it. The only one that 100% adhered or followed his commitment when I was doing that for 11 or 12 years was Marcus Bauer. He's the only guy that ever signed that motherfucking paper that we don't sign anymore, that ever did all the things he committed to, including the revenue mark. One guy, we did about 13, 14 years. One fucking skinny guy. And tonight you're going to be all full of shit, talking shit, all high-fiving and shit. For what? I have no fucking idea, but you will be. Because only about half of you are drinking. I don't give a fuck if any of you drink. I save money. Ups my margin. But drinking or not drinking has nothing to do with you fulfilling your aspirations, believe me. Zero. And high-five and jumping around and doing, like on your fucking Facebook and doing all, is actually detrimental. What did you see last night? Pardon? The old man. The book's a fraud. Napoleon Hill's a fraud. I told you he's got no medals or anything from the British government for all the good he's done, for all the money he gave away at the end of his life. It's not coincidental that the Think and Grow Rich came out the week after he died. It was published, I think, in 1919, I think. A miserable human being paid a guy to go to the Civil War for him, $700, if I recall. And of course, he died. He's my idol. I went in the military 7 years. I didn't pay anybody, so. And the model that you hope and Hope's Not Strategy are going to use is his. But I give him credit for it. And I still remember I'm a young guy, an analyst. And it's like another light bulb thing went over my head. Fuck. Why doesn't everybody do this? And of course, you're never going to find, it will never cross the lips of Bank of America, ING, Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs. It will never cross any of their lips talking to you because there are zero fees. Almost zero. Now they've concocted bullshit, other ways to charge you, but for the most part, it's zero fees. And here you got it. You paid for it. You didn't have to pay for it because it's free on my site. But he was a smart little fuck. Big time smart. And he used that because he didn't want to have partners. He didn't want to have equity partners because he was a cheap little fuck. Scottish people are cheap little fucks. Copper wire was invented with a Dutchman and a Scotsman fighting over a penny. That's how copper wire was invented, as the story goes. Comments, questions about Mr. Carnegie. And I've been to his house, Skibo Castle. You've seen pictures of it. And the only thing different about Skibo is not really a castle, but anyway, and it was built in the early part of the 19th century. That's strange about it, and I think I mentioned it the first time, the door handles are low. The regular door handles about here. Door handles in Skibo Castle are here because he was 5'1". So if he was 5'1", that means he was 4'8". And it's not as well appointed as our place, but anyway. Any comments, questions about Mr. Carnegie? Yes, sir.
He was ashamed of his background or his poverty.
Like most of you in this fucking room. I hope you got, I'm glad you didn't miss that. I mean, fine. Yeah, he was. I told you the story that when we had guys that they called their fathers, picked up the garbage. They were industrial engineers. I used to get a hoot out of that. My dad's an industrial engineer. And then you see him come back, and he's wearing the overalls, LA City. So that was either a prison overall, if it was orange, or if it was green, it was because your dad picked up the garbage. And yet, you can almost understand how then, if your dad was an industrial engineer, why they would be living vicariously through you. Now, the guys that pick up the garbage in New York make $95,000 a year. And if you've heard Warren talk in recent years, he says we have thousands of jobs between $75,000 and $85,000 a year. You don't need any education, even grammar school, which is about 50%, I don't know, maybe 100% higher than the minimum wage. Or maybe a little more than that. Any other words of wisdom reference? Mr. Carnegie. He fucked everybody. And I'm not suggesting you fuck everybody. His mentor, quasi-mentor at the beginning, he basically put his foot on his head and helped him drown. That's the real world that I come from. And that's why they told me 50 years ago, you're not tough enough, Dan. Otherwise, you'd be the first trillionaire on the planet. Because I was smarter than everybody. I'm still smarter than everybody. We got a guy in here. We were talking about roll-ups that, I don't know if you call him a buddy or a friend or an associate, that sold off 80 or 90 dental deals and got 150 million in the last few years. That did exactly what I'm telling you to do. And his buddy is sitting in this room. It's not that hard. In fact, it's not hard at all once you get through the first 5 or 6. As our 12-year-old daughter said 20-some years ago, 20-some years ago, it's easy peasy. And the thing our daughter doesn't like about the methodology is pay price to action. This is a girl when she was 5 or 6, she used to call out to her nanny, Roofie, I went Belgian waffles this morning and I don't feel like going to school. Roofie. Her name was Ruth. And she'd say, well, I'm going to call Mister. Oh, I still want the Belgian waffles. Spoiled beyond your wildest imagination. But I'm not the kind of father, when they put their head on your shoulder and cry, I don't give a, I just push you away. That shit didn't work with me. It still doesn't. When you lose your leg or you get shot with a bullet in the head or you're dying, then you cry on my shoulder. But till then, I'm not interested. She's a little me with a skirt. I'm not going to be CEO of her daddy probably till I'm 50. So if you haven't, and I'm sure you have already, thought about giving up a bunch of shit, you're living in a dream world and you're pushing, remember the dual reality, the 2 different worlds? I'm thinking about the other Cuban guy that was here that told the Goomba brothers, I'm Cuban, blah, 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 in real life. He went to meet the Goomba brothers for whatever reason, and he couldn't give up shit. He was too part of the, shall we say, the Cuban community. I'm sure you can relate to that. You know what I mean by that. Never did cock. And unfortunately, I see, because I've been doing this 30 years, as your grandparents die or your parents die or your brother dies or your stepfather dies, and you think that you can break from the chains, we see guys in the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th year accomplish this or do something with it. But till then, they don't feel they can. Remember, we have 2 bank accounts, emotional and financial. And you've been taught to worry about the financial bank account, which I'm telling you is going to go away in the big tsunami. Some of you believe me, some of you don't. And it's the emotional bank account you need to build up. And that's why when Marcus Bauer was here, and he said that, I worked on my steps. I didn't work on my steps. I was a coward, this, that, and the other thing. These are guys, it's an exaggeration for me to say they're speaking from the heart. I don't know that. I had a slide, I didn't show it yesterday, where we actually took a picture where I went and had an MRI that showed my heart. It was pumping. And I thought it was pretty funny. But Sally and I, about 10 years ago, went to UCLA Medical Center. And we had been into, these executive physicals where they do from everything from A to Z. And you're in there and they take pictures of everything and MRIs and CAT scans. And when the results came back, doctor calls us here and said, results are unremarkable. I don't like that term, unremarkable, when they say that. I mean, everything's okay. But we have one challenge, Mr. Peña. We can't find your wife's brain. Now, Sally was there. She said, I kind of turned white. She thought I was going to pass out from laughing. I almost collapsed. laughing so hard. But I did piss myself. They didn't find her brain for about 8 or 9 days. I'd be oh, fuck. Because she is super smart. Not as smart as me, but she's super smart. So we have one of those kind of physicals. I have it 2 or 3 times a year, and she has it every other year. And I am pissed, twisted, steel, and fucking panther piss. I have the bloods of a 40, 45-year-old and the testosterone of a 16, 20-year-old. That's genetic. You saw what my dad looked like. Now, the reason facsimile, he wasn't that buff. Okay. Does anybody want to comment on this? You want to bleed your heart out and tell me or the audience that, and what happens here stays here, kind of like Vegas. What you're willing to give up? Most of you, nothing. So I'm glad to leave it that way. Which we don't try, we tell the truth here. That's not that you're not going to try, but trying doesn't get it done. The fact that you're going to try, old timer, doesn't mean dick to me. Trying doesn't get it done. Gabriel Fine, his chairman, is taking action. And he was scared shitless. Okay, YouTube.